Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Good morning. It is the Morning Vibe, September 15th. We're already halfway through September. Believe it or not, halfway through already. Like, the time is just flying by. So, like to say thank you for the people here already. And if you're here live, please put in the comments where you're chiming in from. We know what you're probably here for, but why you're here, we know you want to watch the Morning Vibe, and also our special friend today, and all our special friends, but where you're chiming in from. So just want to say hello. I look, someone's chiming already. Well, Mr. Marlon Stevens, good morning. Hope all is fine with you. Hope all is fine with you and the family, you and safe. All right. Fitness IQ Cam, otherwise known as KSEYL, RWFQ. You are in the house. Nice. Why am I chiming in for? LOL. Oh, I know why you're chiming in. It's all good. What has been going on this week with everybody? I guess the second. Oh, look at this. She goes, because you are my favorite people. Well, I hope you're talking truths there. I hope so. And also check out Fitness IQ Cam's show on YouTube Saturday afternoons, usually around 5-ish, 5:30. So make sure you chime into Things I Wish I Knew About Money show on YouTube. So that is great. What's been going on with everyone this week? It's been a interesting week. A lot of, second week of many people coming in. Okay, look at this. Verna G, good morning from Florida. Fantastic. Good to have you here this morning. How is weather? How are things down in the Sunshine State, as they call it? Nice. Yeah, thank you so much for chiming in, everybody. We appreciate it, not taking it for granted. So as I said, what's been going on this week? For me, it's been a little bit of a quieter week, which is fantastic. Get some rest. Again, thanks to everyone who chimed in either live on the replay for our show on Monday. Carolyn Nicole of Energy Shack Juice Bar rocked the house, and I'm happy to say that one of our family, Hayton Morrison, that day went to Energy Shack Juice Bar. He said he was in that area of the store, and he asked Carolyn, "Do you have I'm 10 minutes away. Can we see somebody? Can I see someone?" She said, "Sure." And now he's basically on a 2-month nutrition program. I think he's doing a detox first, and then he's doing a juicing. He's detoxing first, and he's on a 2-month nutritional program. So he is not fooling around. So you know what I'm going to actually do? I'm just going to put it up right now for those who missed out. So if you want to get a consultation with Carolyn, $49 instead of the regular price of $110 when you mention the Morning Vibe or Dr. Vibe. The email address is info@Energy Shack Juice Bar. So take it. She can do it via phone. She can do it online. So whatever way you want, make it happen. She has another special. I'll don't have it with me right now, but on Monday's show, I think it's 20% off if you go to her website and the detox programs. If you use Dr. Vibe, DRVIBE, you get 20% off all the detox programs. So yeah, it was really great. And she'll be back with us the second Monday of next month. Wow, lots of people chiming in. Fitness IQ, morning from Scarberia. Well, you're Scarberia, I'm Scarborough. So you can say Scarborough, I'm Scarborough. Also, Dr. Tachi, host and producer of the livest show online about media tech and pop culture called Mediascope. It's on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Instagram Live, and then 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and other platforms. So good to have you here. And also Indie Soup Media. The network is coming. Network is coming. All right. Verna G says it's sunny in Florida. What's the temp down there? We're about, let's say 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, which in old terms would be about 50 degrees and getting warmer. It was cool last night. It was a cooler night. So you know that fall is on its way. This is the last full weekend of summer in the Western Hemisphere. Yes, wow, dedication, Fitness IQ says yes. Hayden is not playing. Ched C, good morning. Good morning. Where are you chiming in from? And have you subscribed to the YouTube channel? Wonderful. And we have Divine Wright from the DMV, who was with me last night with Will and Bill talking about the ALS walk that's coming up. Actually, oh, come on. Fitness IQ, you turn on the heater? Come on. Come on. And Divine Wright says it's 50 degrees in the DMV area. And she says, that's how cold it was? No, man. Talk to me in like January. It's not that bad. Come on. You lived here a minute. Tough it up a little bit if you can. All right. So we got a whole family in here. I have not heard from Ryan, so I hope everything's okay. But if not, we're going to go hand solo today, but that's okay. You're here, I'm here, and our friend, the third Friday of each month is here. So that's the most important thing. So without further, one more. Opal Inspired is here. Good morning, Opal Inspired. Oh, Divine says, oh no, it's not 50 here. I'm talking about where you are. Okay, no problem. That's so good. I wouldn't expect to be 50 right there yet. And Fitness IQ says, Doctor, a lot of replays to catch up with you. You were busy this week. Not real. Well, okay. So Monday we had Carolyn. Tuesday I did a show with the Back Health Professionals Network. And then last night, so 3. And I minimum I do 4 conversations a week. So yes, a little bit more. Positive productive. I don't like the word busy. And then Divine Red says it's 67 here and sunny. Nice. So I love it. Family's already in the house. Yes. ALS. Yeah, last night. Great conversation. Go back to it. And if you are up to it, please contribute to Will's team for the ALS walk that's coming up in September 23rd in Syracuse area. And of course, Dr. Tachi says it's 80 something here. Well, I hope your air conditioning's working. That's all I'm saying. I hope the air conditioning's working. All right. This is all good. All right. So we got all the family in the house and more to probably come. But we know that one of our most and favorites friends, Ray McMillan, is here with us. Okay. Ched C said, yes, I did subscribe. Thank you, Ched C. Appreciate that. Oh, actually, one other thing. I did something I've only done 1 or 2 times in my life. I did golfing this week. And so a little backstory. Well, I guess, okay, I'll give the full story. And just another minute or two, Ray. So during the pandemic, someone from my high school days reached out to me and said, hey, a bunch of us guys who played football and rugby want to get together. I said, okay, where are you getting together? Got together at the parking lot of our old high school. And I said, all right. So it was a Sunday afternoon. I said, I'll be polite, go for an hour. End up being there for 5 hours. It was amazing. So long story short, last year we had they called it a football rugby reunion at a golf course. That's about 45 minutes an hour drive north of where I live. And I said, okay, let me just go. Like they offered golfing and a social after. I went for the social, had a great time. It was amazing. I said, and they said, oh, why don't you come golf next year? I said, okay, let me do it. So went golfing and the social this year and saw some people I hadn't seen for over 25, 30 years. It was amazing. It was a great time. And hey, we played best ball, so it was a 9-hole course. So it was us, our four, and it was all people I went to school with, guys I went to school, which was great. And on one hole, I had the best third and the second last and last shot. I had the best, so I did good. And they said, "Hey, man, you got some talent." So I may do some golf range stuff either this year or next year. Just thinking about it, but it was a great time. So I want to encourage, if you ever get a chance to go to your high school reunions, go if you have good memories, because a lot of times if you don't go, you'll only know about people who you went to high school with transitioning. And it's a lot of great memories, at least for myself. Okay, let's catch up because I know Ray wants to get on here. So Divine Right, Will's team is called Willpower. You can donate online and walk virtually as well. Absolutely. Fitness IQ, did anyone have to duck while you were playing? No. And you know what? The guys who were with me have golfed a lot more experience than myself, and they had some bad shots too. So I didn't feel that bad. And I had some not so good shots. No worry. But that one hole where I had the second last shot and I putted in for par, that made the whole day worth it. So how cool is that? Yeah, it was a great time. I'm going to reach out to some of them on LinkedIn or Facebook, and we keep in touch. So Dr. Tax says, Divine Right, good morning. Great job last night. Yeah, she did a great job last night. She always does a great job. Hayden Morrison. Oh, good morning, Dr. Vibe. I noticed my name without my permission. I'm expecting my royalty check, please. Sorry, Hayden. I'm sorry, but hey, thank you for making a decision and taking action. So you and I are on this journey together. I'm waiting for Ryan to start the journey and others of you to start the journey. At least go for a consultation. I heard that you had a good experience with Carolyn, and hey, we're doing this together. So absolutely. Fitness IQ, Hayden, let me know if he provides you a royalty check because I'm due some as well. People are leaning in on me. Okay. Yes, whatever you say. KSEYL RWFQ. All right. And thanks, Soritachi. All right. Let's get to Mr. McMillan because it seems that you guys don't want to hear from him today, and I want to hear from him. LOL. Fitness. Oh, okay. Let's get Ray in the house, and we're going to have a good time with Ray McMillan. What is up, Ray? How are you this morning?
Good morning, Dr. Vibe. I am doing fine as usual.
Good. What's going on?
I like your backdrop with that sunshine stuff you got going on there, man.
Okay, I guess I'm glad.
Preparing for winter. You're preparing for the winter equinox. But the spring equinox is about to start in about 3 or 4 days, 22nd of September.
I'm never preparing for it. Maybe I prepare for it, but I never get
it's
used
the joys of full season living, right?
True, the joys. Well, at least one of the seasons is not joyful for me. Okay, so people are saying good morning, Ray, from Dr. Tachi. Fitness IQ Cam says morning, Raymond. That's good. How are things going on in your world?
But to give an update on the weather forecast, it's 39 degrees Celsius where I am. I see you guys did a weather rundown this morning. So 39 Celsius, about what, 105, 107 probably Fahrenheit? I don't know. It's like no conversion for us. And it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. So think of what's going to be like around 12 to 2 o'clock when the sun is at its highest, right? So, but I'm enjoying it. It's good for the health. You perspire, clears the pores out. You know what I mean? So it's good.
Wonderful.
We had a high school reunion here in Guyana actually a couple of months ago. So high school reunions are actually very important. I mean, most of my very close friends, people I partnered with on projects, I've known since I was 10 and 11 years old. We have a network of friends in different professions. So if you were close to your high school classmates and they've gone on into different careers and stuff, you have a very great network to interact with when you're trying to get stuff done. Instead of trying to build new relationships. I mean, at university, I never really built close friendships in university, but I built very close friendships in high school. And I mean, we talking, I'm going to date myself now, almost 50 years of friendship. And it's a core of about 6 of us who we interact almost every other day. So in terms of advice, and in that group, you've got a couple of lawyers, a couple of CPAs, agriculturists, and we're global all across the world. Everybody travels a lot, and we get together every now and then. So it's actually a great thing to keep those connections.
The group that I was in for golfing, two of the guys are engineers, and another guy does designs of restaurants. So good group. So the family says here, Fitness IQ goes, Lasai, Raymond, we need to switch locations. LOL. Divine Right goes, good morning, Ray. Enjoy that sunshine. And Divine Right also goes, yes, agreed, Fitness IQ Cam. So Divine Right and Fitness IQ Cam want to change with you. They want you to go to either come to Scarborough or go to the DMV. So I don't think that's happening. It's a nice dream, but it ain't going to happen this time. So before we get into the conversation, a few things. Remember, we want to just please, if you haven't subscribed to the Dr. Vibe YouTube channel, hit the subscribe and then hit the notification button so you get notified of all the epic conversations. Also, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you want to advertise your business and or service on the Dr. Vibe Show, like the McMillan Group does every Monday, they sponsor our Monday shows. Email me at dr.vibe@VIBESHOW.com. And also, finally, please join the Discord group where we continue the conversations in between. I put some stories up just recent. I think I put some things up last night on the Discord group so we continue the conversations. Also, tell us what's going on in your world and anything you want to talk about or chat about on the Discord channel. That's what we do. So today, we've got a new topic. Ray wants to talk about buying land as a real estate investment option and how it is financed. Ray, the floor is yours. And also, as always, to family questions. If anyone has any questions, you know the rule. Put them in, and we'll get them to Ray. So, sorry to interrupt, Ray. Now the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. Before we go any further, this is our 1-year anniversary. We did our first conversation on September the 16th last year.
What?
Exactly 1 year. So we got to pop some champagne and the balloons and all that.
Yes. Wow. Well, you caught me on this one.
Wow. Yeah, we were trying to figure out how long you were doing this on our last conversation, but I get these alerts on my phone that remind me of how old I'm getting because it puts things in historical perspective. So I was pleasantly surprised this morning when it popped up in my phone that my first conversation in the Dr. Vibe Show was on September the 16th, 2022. So we're a year in. So thank you very much for the platform. Thanks to the audience. We have an amazing viewership. People coming in once a month to listen to me. I am not saying I have all the answers, but what I do share is anecdotal experiences from my 30 years in the financial services industry, my 25 years in the mortgage brokerage industry, and an extensive period of time as a real estate investor and a mentor to many investors and many people in the profession. But also more important to my own kids, my eldest son, who is now actively involved in the mortgage brokering part of our business. So let's start with land. There's a romantic attachment to people buying land, particularly people who look like you and I. And it's important to understand how to buy land, where to buy land, and the historical context of the whole land ownership stuff. I got involved in my first land transaction back in 1998. 45 acres of land sitting at Highway 48 and Highway 9 in Ontario, a place called East Gwillimbury. It was a nightmare. We didn't know what we were doing, and we subsequently lost property. It was an equestrian farm. 2 ponds on the property. 1 pond, I think, was almost 2 acres or 2.5 acres. That was the size of the pond. Lots of pine trees. Had a lot of potential for the equestrian center. Had a lot of potential for fishing. Had a lot of potential for Christmas tree farming. But financing of land is very, very challenging. There was a first, second, third, I think a fourth mortgage. There were three properties on the land. All were rented, and we had difficulty collecting the rents. And eventually it all went belly up. If anybody knows the area today, you fast forward almost 26 years later, that entire area is now developed because it's the route that goes into an area called Cottage Country. And Highway 48 is one of the busiest rural highways going north out of downtown Toronto, other than the Don Valley Parkway. So that was my experience getting into the industry, getting into land purchasing, and land acquisition. And it wasn't very, very pleasant, but I was not prepared for it. Land ownership is not new to us. And a lot of it started after the Emancipation Proclamation, both in the US, Canada, and in the Caribbean, where land was given to former slaves. You're probably familiar with the term 40 acres and a mule. And that 40 acres and a mule is actually very, very true. In the US, we have what's called the Homestead Act of 1862, where a lot of land was given to people who had used the land for 3 years or longer. About 270 million acres of land. Of that land, about 16 to 17 million went to Black former slaves, Black men and women. At that point, land ownership among Black people in the US was around probably 12 to 15%. And they owned, extensive areas of land in the southeastern part of the US. So we talk in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, and then parts of Alabama and Louisiana and Kentucky. In Canada, it was around the same time that land was given to Black Canadians after the War of 1812, those folks who defended, who fought for the flag, British flag, as loyalists were given land in Nova Scotia. So anybody familiar with Black Canadian history will put that in context. In the Caribbean, it was very similar. As the plantations started to change the way they operated, lots of land was given to former slaves throughout the entire, and here in the Caribbean, with the English-speaking Caribbean, from Jamaica, coming down to Barbados, Belize in Central America, and Guyana in South America. In Guyana, some of you may know I am part Guyanese. My mother's Guyanese, so I've got a very deep insight into Guyanese subcultures. Guyana is a very racially parallel society. So in Guyana, you've got an East Indian population and a Guyanese and a Black population, where the East Indians came as indentured servants after slavery. So after the slavery and indentureship ended, what you found was Black freedmen or freed peoples started buying land all across parts of the coast in Guyana. So you would see large communities that were divided racially. You have a Black village in here with only a Black population of 500 people, and then you have an Indian village, next door. So land was a very, very big thing for us. When did it start to change? It started to change because in the US, what you had in the US was a lot of former slaves had the names of their former plantation owners. And because of the high level of illiteracy within the Black community, not only in the US, but in Canada and in the Caribbean, a lot of land wasn't registered properly. There was no clean and clear title to own the property. And if you carry the same name as your former plantation owner, it was very easy for people to steal land, non-Black people to steal land from Black folks when either a father or a grandfather died. So a lot of land was stolen. Now we've heard about areas being destroyed by white racists, and we hear about the Tulsa and the Rosewoods, but there was a large land theft that happened mainly in the US and Canada. And right now they're trying to have the land in Canada go back to those the families of the Black loyalists who owned land in Nova Scotia during the 1800s. One of the challenges with doing that is the cost. There's significant costs to fighting those legal battles and trying to get that land back to the rightful owners. That puts land ownership for us in a bit of a historical context. So owning land as Black people is not something that is new. It's not there were many Black farmers, in the Caribbean where the population is almost entirely Black. We were all farmers in Jamaica. All the rural farming in Port Antonio and in Portland they're Black farmers. They're no other race. In Barbados, it's the same thing. A lot of the farming is done so they own large swaths of land. Now let's look at land in the context of today's society. A lot of the movement away from rural areas and farming happened in the early 1900s, where people left cities and left the rural areas, went into cities looking for employment. There was more factories being built, the industrialization period. So in order to move, what would happen in some cases, if you had no resources, you would sell your land. So a lot of us started to sell off pieces of land in order to migrate to these environments that were going to give us these newfound opportunities and probably newfound wealth. And we know how that played out. It didn't really work out in our favor in that regard. So we are now on this whole quest to start buying land. As we now receive the information from people around us, we see all these people on the podcast talking about buying land and buying back the neighborhood. We're now trying to buy back the neighborhood and buy land to develop. And that's where we come to how do we buy land? Now, there's two types of land that we can purchase. There's improved land and there's unimproved land. And I always tell people, land has no intrinsic value unless you have a use for it. So what do you do with land? You either build in it, whether it's residential, industrial, commercial properties. You mine it for some sort of precious metal or oil, or you for agricultural purposes. You farm or you raise cattle in it. And those are the three primary uses of land. So when you're talking about buying land, the first thing you need to ask yourself is what do you plan to do with the land? And if the land is unimproved, that is even more important, because if it's unimproved land, it means it's not served by major roads, it's not served by electricity, it's not served by running water. So you will not have to develop or work with your local municipal government or regional government to get all those things done. So while you may find 100,000 acres of land for $100,000, if it's unimproved, what do you do with it? And is it a worthwhile investment compared to buying improved land in an urban center or close enough to an urban center that can be developed much faster and you can now monetize your investment?
Okay. All right. We're going to stop it there. We're going to take a little break, but a few things. So just want to catch up with some comments. So let's get to those comments right now. Okay. So people saying happy anniversary. Fitness IQ, thank you. Verna G, happy anniversary. Tim Frey says, morning from Mount Albert East, Gwillimbury. Ray will know where that is. Of course, Ray will know where that is. Of course, he'll know where that is. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick little break, and then Ray will get into more stuff. And thank you for the comments and questions that are coming in. We're going to do a quick little break and come back. We're just going to do a little promo here for a network mixer coming up. So here we go.
Yeah. Frequency Event Promotions. FrequencyEventPromotions.com. A network mixer. Hosted by Christopher Lawrence. It all goes down at the Grenette Brewery, located on 245 Ellington Avenue East. This event is for startup businesses. Get your tickets now. FrequencyEventPromotions.com. We design, we promote, and we print.
All right. So Frequency Event Promotions, a graphic design, advertising, and printing company located in Toronto, will be delivering their third business-to-business network mixer, hosted by entrepreneur event organizer Christopher Lawrence. Essentially, the mixer is pulling together creatives, entrepreneurs, and even 9-to-5ers, individuals thinking about starting a business. The event will be taking place on Wednesday, September 20th. Yes, 5 days away. at 6:30 p.m. at 245 Eglinton Avenue East, the Granite Brewery, major intersection Mount Pleasant and Eglinton Avenue. Free parking is available. Refreshments will be provided, and the topic of discussion will be how to land targeted clients utilizing social media. And your share or presenter will be Trevor Short, a product marketing leader. If you register now, the first 10 people to register will win 250 free business cards produced by Frequency Event Promotions, and also be able to enter a draw to win an iPad tablet. So get your tickets now. Register online at frequencyeventpromotions.com/events. So that is Frequency Event Promotions, and we'll just share that information on how the more detail here. Again, Wednesday, September 20th, 6:30 p.m., 245 Eglinton Avenue East at the Granite Brewery, major intersection Mount Pleasant and Eglinton Avenue East. And then also, if you want more information about the event, go to frequencyeventpromotions.com/events. So there we go. We got some comments. Let's put them up quickly here. Some people are responding. All right. Marlon Stephen, good morning, Ray. Happy anniversary. Dr. Tachi says that sounds like a great event. Yes. Maybe you want to come up for it, Dr. Tachi. I don't know. So we have some questions here for Ray. Okay, so let me bring up some things here. This is why it's great to have a producer. I don't like doing everything on my own, but I can multi-purpose the best of them. So let's go here and let's have question here. Ched says, are you doing international real estate?
I am not a realtor, but I spend a lot of time in different places. I have a very diverse background in terms of where I lived and where I've lived and my travels. So I'm not a tourist, I'm a traveler. So anywhere I land, I look for the opportunity. I spend extensive periods of time throughout the Caribbean. That includes Grenada, Jamaica, Barbados, and Guyana. And I domicile between Toronto, Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, and Jacksonville, Florida. For those who don't know my background, I have been a licensed mortgage professional since 1999. And a lot of my time is spent coaching and educating clients how to buy real estate anywhere in the world. I am a strong believer that the foundation to creating generational wealth. And I don't mean for your children, I mean for your grandchildren and your great-great-grandchildren, is by owning, developing, and investing in land and real estate. It's just one of the proven things over time. And if we look at the disparity in wealth between Black people, mainly in the US and Canada, and other ethnic groups, we will see that that disparity is primarily as a result of their inability to acquire ownership to real estate, whether it be homes, whether it be commercial property, whether it be farms, whether it be office buildings. So my purpose is to educate us or help us to shift our focus from buying nice homes to buying properties that can actually generate income for us while at the same time appreciating. I was listening to a conversation yesterday. I know I'm probably going a bit off topic right now. And we're discussing net worth versus cash flow. I'm a cash flow proponent. I don't care what your net worth is, because in order to live off your net worth, you have to dispose of the asset. But I've got an income generating asset that's giving me cash flow, or I'm earning passive income every single month, whether it's $5,000 or $20,000 or $25,000 a month. Then that is my lifestyle living. I may have a net worth of $100,000, but I have income of $25,000 a month, which will allow me to have a relatively decent lifestyle in North America. You have a net worth of $1.5 million, an income of $10,000 a year, which is going to put you below the poverty line. So by acquiring real estate assets, you're able to change your cash flow situation. And with buying land and eventually learning how to develop it, that will change the process even faster. So coming back to improved versus unimproved land, a lot of the land you see being developed today across many suburban neighborhoods was land that was probably bought by families 40 years ago. There's a term called land banking, which if you plan to invest in land is something you need to familiarize yourself with. Where people buy large swaths of land, knowing that their return is going to be probably a 20 or 30-year play, because the land will increase in value as the infrastructure is put in. And by infrastructure, we're talking about transit and transportation. So highways, bus routes, airports, train tracks, and train stations. And for those who are familiar with the Greater Toronto area, you will notice that as Highway 404 and Highway 427 started to go further north, you will see more and more developments being done in terms of residential communities being created. And a lot of land was farmland 35 years ago, but as farming shrunk and became a more corporate entity as opposed to small farmers, a lot of farmers start selling their land off. So if you know anything about farming is hard work. You're up at 4 a.m. and you go to bed at probably midnight when you get you got a sick calf or a sick horse or something. It's a lot of work. So most people who farm for a living, black or white, most times the next generation is not interested in that process. So if you've got 200 acres of land and the developer offers you $1,000 an acre or $10,000 an acre, and you've got a $20 million check you're going to collect, then it's easy to sell that land and collect that check. So developers or land speculators have been doing that for several years, understanding how cities are expanding and growing. And they are, I don't want to use the word hoarding, they've been banking land for decades. And as the cities grow and the populations grow, they either sell the land to an investor or they partner with an investor, right? Because remember, there are three things in Europe that are very, very scarce. One is drinking water, one is money, and the other is land that has intrinsic value. Those are three of the world's probably most scarcest resources. So owning land puts you in a position to monetize your future. So buying unimproved land is a very, very long-term play and highly speculative. Now, buying improved land is land that is probably close to an urban center or within an urban center, is probably more beneficial and can be easier made profitable, but it's usually a lot more expensive. And what does that mean? You're buying a house lot in Washington, D.C., or you're going in and buying a piece of land that was empty. It's 5 minutes out to the downtown core, but it's probably going to cost you $2 million. But you don't have the ability to develop that land, change its zoning, and then go from building whatever was there. Let's say it was a gas station, and now building yourself a small office building, which you have the option of either selling and repeating the process one more time or two more times, or renting that space yourself, depending on the demand for office space in your neighborhood or your city, and cash for that property yourself, right? With land, you've got to consider a lot of things when you're buying land. And you're looking at large swaths of land. You've got to look at what the zoning bylaws are, because lots of time you can't just buy land in many large acres of land in many areas and then just change the zoning. It's a long process, right? You can't go from owning 60 acres of land that is mostly trees and then decide, I'm going to buy the 60 acres of land, I'm going to separate into 1 acre lots, and I'm going to build myself 60 luxury homes. You may go to the municipality, they may tell you that you can't cut this land up in smaller swaths than 10 acres. So it's very important you work with a realtor in buying large plots of land, that a lot of research is done. So you can't approach land buying in exactly the same way you approach buying a house in a local neighborhood. Your realtor has to be well informed, and your mortgage professional has to be well informed, because the financing process is also very, very different. Okay. The other thing you look at is the environmental risk, hazards in where you're buying the land. I mean, we've seen the number of forest fires across North America over the last few months, and I mean, we've had fires in areas that didn't have forest fires traditionally. I mean, I think I've seen some forest fires. Is it in Newfoundland? I was watching the news a few days ago, or in Nova Scotia, somewhere in the east coast of Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, then you've got flood risk in some areas, right? So when you looking at buying land, you want to research all those things. Is this somewhere that has the potential to flood? I mean, we've got an area in Alberta. We have the river, I think it's the Red River, that floods very, very frequently, and the bank rises 10 feet. I mean, that's a lot of water. If you've bought land off the Red River during the drier season, and you're unfamiliar with the fact that the Red River floods its banks every few years, you've got 40 acres sitting in the Red River, it might be a bit of useless land that you cannot now sell, because people have seen the environmental risk involved with owning this land. And then there's the financing part of it. Because most unimproved land has no intrinsic value, it is very, very difficult to get it financed, right? Because the financing is based on what you're going to use this land for. Are you going to turn it into a farm? Are you going to turn it into an industrial complex? Are you going to build 5,000 townhomes? So a lot of times land purchases are usually done cash or financed privately, or usually by a local credit union or a local bank within the area who understands what is happening to the area. So let's say you're buying land in Nanaimo, British Columbia. Your best bet to get it financed would be to approach a local credit union head office or located in Nanaimo, because they understand the nuances of that society. So for somebody living in Florida, and you online, you say, oh, here's 100 acres of land in Nanaimo, let me go and buy it. You know, it might not be an easier process. Similar if you're buying property in Southeast Georgia, right? You will have to go in to that local community and speak to the local lenders in order to finance your land. So most times the financing doesn't go beyond 50%. And in very rare cases, if the land is already improved, it may go to 65%. So getting into land ownership and land development is not an easy task. Hence the reason we failed back in 1998, because we didn't understand the process. We had this huge swath of land. We didn't understand I didn't go to any question center was until I actually saw this place. I'd never gone to any question center in my life. You know, I'm a big fan of horse races, but I was never around horses in that regard. The idea of sport fishing was new to me also. You know, recreational fishing, I mean, on these ponds. So when we had all these great ideas for the land, we had no business plan to go to a lender to say this is what we were planning to do. I don't know how long it took to have a Christmas tree farm where you actually go from planting Christmas trees to making money on Christmas trees. So when it comes to land buying, land development, you've got to take a lot of time and analyze it, research it, and make sure the team around you understand what your objectives are. We have a client who bought some property out in Halton about probably 8 years ago. And she moved from a part of the GTA that she started living in. She had a nice home, and then she moved out to Halton and bought this piece of property. I think it was probably 15 or 20 acres with her home. And it made a lot of sense because it was beautiful. It was great value for what she bought. She bought like $500,000. It was a beautiful historic home sitting on 20 acres. And her intention was to probably sever 15 of the acres, sell it to a developer, and then use the money to pay off her mortgage and rebuild her home into something really beautiful. Well, that land, part of the land she owned, was on the Greenbelt, the Niagara Escarpment. And if anybody's made the Niagara Escarpment, you can't develop, well, up to recently, I'm not sure what's going on now, but the current premier of Ontario, up to 2 months ago, you couldn't develop land on the Niagara Escarpment. And that exists in many parts of North America, where certain lands are actually protected lands, they're government lands. You may be able to buy the land, but you cannot develop the land or cannot develop all of it. So you have to be very cognizant of all of those things when buying land.
All right. Well, let's catch up. Ray is dropping major knowledge bombs as per usual. And everyone that's here, no one's leaving. People are staying and listening to this conversation. So catch up's here. Shola Bishop, good morning. Thank you. Dalton Haynes says, good morning, Dr. Bob. Just dropping by to say hi. Your show always provides great nuggets. Keep up the great work. We'll be listening later offline. No problem. Thank you even for stopping by. We appreciate it. It's all of us together. It's not just me. So question, I think there's two questions Chet has. I think one's short. You're saying any experience in Africa. I don't think you have any experience with Africa, correct?
Unfortunately, no. But I do have a lot of close friendships with people who live in Ghana and Nigeria. So if you want a solid referral, I can.
Yep.
I've also got a very close contact to in East Africa, an architect. I can also provide that referral, but I don't myself have any experience in Africa on the continent. No.
Yeah, and so definitely there's Ray's contact information. I've flashed up a few times during the conversation. Reach out to him. Also myself, I know someone who does real estate in Portugal, so I don't know if she may have experience in Africa, but if Portugal is right now another hot market globally that you may want to check out too. Ray, let me just more comment for, let's see. Fitness IQ Camp says, I'm loving the knowledge. And then always the great $1 million or $1 billion question. I agree with you, Ray. How challenging is it to convey this message to our, I'll say C word. I don't like that word, but I'll put it for the audience community. It's not a word I use a lot. So what are your thoughts on that, Ray?
It's no concern of mine. I am not concerned about the entire Black race. I'm concerned about the 10 people who are listening to us. So, I mean, I don't do that much thought. I mean, the first people that I educate are my offspring and people I share DNA with, people I love, you know, people like yourself. And there's a few friends of mine who are watching me right now on my Instagram live, you know, Jelani Daniels, King of Coats. You know, he's been a good friend of mine for years.
Yes.
So my concern is not saving the entire race. Anybody who has that approach to life is definitely going to lose the battle, lose the war. Sorry, that's a battle I'm not interested in fighting. You know, as I said, I've been in this space for 25 years. I don't know it all. I don't have all the answers. But as I said earlier, I've got a core group of people around me, all different professions, that I've known since I was 11 years old. I'm now 60 years old. That's a lot of years of friendship, trustworthy friendships. And I've also developed some very strong friendships over the last few years, you know, Dr. Vibe, Ryan, and a few other people. So my focus is basically talking to those who are interested in changing their current circumstances, not only for themselves, but for their future generations. I mean, I drove high-end luxury cars for years, German cars. It's a complete waste of money. Like, why would I spend $2,000 a month on a car and rob my great-grandson of land rights in Florida, right? So we've got to shift our focus to visual material purchases, to understanding the process that's in front of us and the landscape when it comes to wealth creation. I was looking at some of the world's richest men last night, the billionaires, and the numbers you're seeing. I don't think there was any Black people in that list. There was a few Asians, both East Indian and Oriental, but the list was mostly white people. I think it was the richest, the fourth richest Black people. And, you know, when you speak to people like, you know, even people who are largely invested in technologies and stock market and a lot of their portfolio involves real estate. If you're manufacturing cars, it's done in a factory. And that factory is sitting on land, which is real estate. If you own Walmart stores, then you're selling stuff through a bricks and mortar facility that's sitting on land, right? If you own a McDonald's, you're sitting in a bricks and mortar facility that's sitting on land. So people argue, and I've seen many arguments about, oh, why to invest my money in the stock market? And that's great. I was also a stock market investor until the dot-com crashed. And I shifted my focus because I have no control over stock market investing. I can't tell you which way a company will go 5 years from now, but with the right research and the right information, I can, with great accuracy, tell you exactly where a land purchase will take me 10 years from now. I mean, as I said a few minutes ago, land is one of the world's scarcest resources. So when it comes to buying land, you have to decide from the inception, what do you plan to do with it? Do you plan to plant grapes? Do you plan to plant hemp? Do you plan to have a fish farm? Do you plan to build a train station? Do you plan to rent the land for mineral rights? And that is what you have to do. So not just become romanticized with the idea, oh, I'm driving past this farm and I want to become a farmer. No, that sounds all great, but are you prepared for the 14-hour day of trying to run a large commercial farm? And who is your support system? And what kind of money do you get from you understand the grants for farmers and the subsidies and the transfer monies and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't understand that, but you are gung-ho and buying this 300-acre farm, I suggest you put yourself around people who understand that process and help you to make your journey easier. For me, I understand urban land. I am not overly interested in buying 2,000 acres of land nowhere in any remote area. While it sounds great, I can bank that land for my children's children, but my immediate concern is finding residential land in areas that are being gentrified. So when you look at land in urban areas, yes, people may say, well, there's no house lots in urban areas, and that is correct. But there are also a lot of derelict buildings that are falling apart in many cities across North America. So you take the time to understand those locations, look at the demographics, look at where the median prices are going. Is there in-migration or out-migration? And then you decide, does it make sense to buy this home here for $200,000, sitting on a corner lot that is 50 by 100 feet deep, and should I tear it down? And what can I change the zoning from a single family home to a multi-family home? Can I go as far as 6 units? And if I can do that, I can now change my value from $200,000 with a $300,000 investment. I'm now worth $1.4 million. So I've got an asset. I now increase my net worth, but I'm also cash flowing $800 a month in each unit, right? So the land purchase is a lot more than just looking to buy land, that is 3 hours north of the closest urban center, but also look within urban areas to decide whether there's any opportunities to quickly change the value of house lots that are in areas that have been neglected but are currently going through gentrification. And that process, is a lot easier to finance than financing 1,000 acres of land at the end of Highway 427. Why? Because if your deal falls apart, it is very easy for the lender to either do that project themselves or sell it to somebody else. Well, if you default on your financing, it's much more difficult to sell 1,000 acres of land sitting in land of nowhere. I mean, who's going to buy it? Another speculative investor. But there's tons of buyers when it comes to urban land. So it's smaller lots, more expensive, but your future value can be significant if done properly. Now, there are people who are losing money in land transactions and development deals every single day. There are also people making a lot of money in the exact same process. So if you don't have all the answers, I suggest you surround yourself with the right people. Do the research before you make that decision. Because the thing about land is if you purchase it, because the financing is so expensive, end up stumbling and not being able to do what you think you want to do, then trying to liquidate it might be close to impossible if you can't get what you wanted to get done.
Yep. Good stuff. Ray is dropping knowledge bombs today, family. Some comments here. Dalton Haynes says, I just want to thank you, Ray and Stefan, for your outstanding professional services. Highly recommend to all who need but are hesitant in seeking professional help. I want to read that last part. are hesitant in seeking professional help. Also, too, Divine Right, this is very helpful. Many will purchase land without the knowledge or how to prepare. For example, farmland. As Ray said, there's so much that goes into it. It's just like the old thing. People see someone who's had a success, but they don't realize the work it took to get to there. They don't realize that. So, it takes work. And again, Ray said, surround yourself with the right people who align with your vision and you can get along with and have the experience. So this is just me. If I'm in an area like this, I want to get that person's track record, even to the point, can you give me some references of people you've had successes for? Because it's like a job. Really, when someone wants to hire you, they're going to ask for references. Don't be afraid if you're doing stuff like this. And Ray, correct me if I'm wrong, that you want to get references of people who they have dealt with. Am I wrong?
And a lot of my knowledge come from my failures. A lot of folks speak of this. I mean, we started the conversation with us failing on 45 acres of land. Most folks, particularly in the Black community, don't talk about their failures. They give you their highlight reels. So every time I come in this conversation, and again, it's our 1-year anniversary, we talk a lot about failures because it's important for us to share those so that when you try to navigate yourself, you know that trying to buy 100 acres of land out in some area, you want to make sure that if you plan to do these 1-acre lots and build executive luxury homes, that you can use the land for what you're trying to do, right? And the only way you're going to know that is by hearing somebody say, perhaps the land may be protected. Because the person who's selling the land is not going to tell you what the limitations are for the land. Why would they tell you? They're trying to make their profit. So if I got 100 acres of land sitting in an escarpment and I want $3.5 million for it, and only a third of the land can be used, why would I tell the potential buyer that you can build houses in the entire acreage? As a buyer, it is your responsibility along with your realtor and your legal team to do that research. And the other thing you want to understand is that the conditions of financing on commercial, industrial, and land deals are not the same as when you're buying a single family home. Most times you've got a condition of financing of 5 business days. The condition of financing on land, industrial, and commercial deals can be as long as 45 days. So if you're a realtor, has never sold a piece of land in his life, and has no experience in that space, there's a very high probability that they're going to mess your deal up because they don't understand the process. So I always tell people, if you're going to be buying commercial, industrial, farmland in certain communities outside of your local geographic area, you may want to find the top realtor in that neighborhood who does who is a specialist in that particular arena, because they know all the ins and outs of buying. If I want to buy property right now in Portugal, I'm going to call Lala because she's American living in Portugal. I'm not going to sit here and call somebody who I found on Instagram who I don't know and try to buy. I don't know this person. So she has the dual C of being American, understanding my subculture, but understanding that landscape in Europe. So similarly, if I'm planning to buy 40 acres of land outside of New Orleans, I am not going to take some realtor from Miami who's selling condos, who's my cousin or my best friend's cousin, and try to buy 40 acres of land out in Louisiana. You want to find the realtor who is familiar with that area, because there's a whole lot more. I mean, as I said, you've got to understand the zoning laws when it comes to land. The risk, is it in a floodplain? Is it any other environmental issues? Is it a toxic piece of land? Was there some sort of nuclear facility 5 miles away? And you have to get all these tests done. We did a commercial deal probably 8 years ago for a large property not too far from the airport. that was owned by a foreign government facility. I'm not going to call any government's names. And it was a $3 or $5 million transaction. And the sale was being done. It was a logistics company who was buying this business. And they were doing the sale with no condition of environmental inspection. Right? Now, when you're financing commercial property, there's a condition of financing, condition of appraisal, and condition of satisfactory environmental inspection. And that environmental inspection is the most important part of that financing process. Right? And this vendor, refused to allow the potential buyer to get an environmental done. So we went back and forth for months. It was a great deal for the buyer. The price was great. It allowed them to expand. They had about 500 trucks. It was right on the highways, the 409, 427 interchange area. And we had lots of conversations. I went to the site 3 or 4 times. I took my son with me to give him the experience. And then the deal fell apart. Then we found out that the facility was used as a facility to manufacture arms. So the entire facility was toxic. It was an arms manufacturing plant. So same thing with land. We don't know if the land you were buying was previously mined for some mineral where they used a chemical to extract that mineral from the soil. I'm currently in Guyana. There's an area called Linden, for those who are Guyanese. Linden is a former bauxite mining town. Now, anybody knows about mining bauxite, it's one of the most toxic processes of the face of the earth. There's lots of land in Linden. You couldn't pay me to buy land in Linden. If it's free, I don't want it. Right? You can't farm that land. So you have to understand that process. You have to go and hire an environmental engineer. And I don't mean the ones, the new meaning of it. I mean the real environmental engineer. Somebody's got a master's in environmental studies to go in there and assess that land, do all the soil tests to make sure that when you spend that $3 or $4 or $5 million, you can actually do what you want to do. Because if you're going to build homes there, no lender is going to lend you money to finance your construction and development project without a full environmental report on that land. So the risk of buying large acres of land in strange locations that you don't know anything about is significantly greater if the research is not done. And the potential to lose money, as we did in 1998, is tremendous. You're never going to recover from those situations. You lose $5 million in a land transaction, it can destroy you. You lose $100 million, it can destroy you. Right? But then you also lost time because you could have put that energy and that money somewhere else in a simpler process. So while buying land is very important, and I will recommend we do it, decide first of all what you're buying the land for, where you plan to buy the land, and what is the long-term goal. And by long-term, I mean 5 years or longer, because you can't monetize land in less than 5 years. If you're doing a development within any city in North America, the process of permits and zoning and drawing approvals and all that kind of stuff, it's going to take you anywhere but 5 years to get it done. So if you don't have the 5-year run to do this, and don't have the financial resources and the people resources, I suggest you sit down quietly in a corner for a minute, try and put that team together, understand what is really needed, and then proceed from there.
Nice. One of the many, it is September, at the end of the year is coming, and I just adding on to what Ray said about the team part, had a chance earlier on this year to attend like a 3-hour session by a gentleman who used to be the operations manager for globally for Volvo car company. And one of the many things the reason why it's important to have a good team is when you have a good team, they cover your blind spots. So is what Ray is saying here is most of us here on this conversation, whether you're watching live or replay, we don't have a lot of knowledge of this stuff. So you want to have members of your team to cover up your blind spots of not knowing about this, to make sure you make not only a good financial decision, but an emotional decision and a mental decision. Because yes, it's one thing losing money, but the emotional and mental aspects of that that's even a higher cost than the financial a lot of times. So I hope I said something that was added value there,
also
Ray.
the toll in your marriage also.
Yes.
Also the toll
yes,
in your
relationships.
Because that stress will destroy your marriage.
Yep. Relationship
I've seen it happen several times. I mean, a lot of what we have learned over the years is from our clients. We've seen clients with challenges and they've made decisions. So, I mean, we've got thousands of clients. Every one of those clients has unique experiences. So we've pooled all those experiences together. And I've brought those to this platform without mentioning those clients by name. I just mentioned the situations and the circumstances. Like it's very important that you have a very clear roadmap of what you're trying to accomplish before you start doing it. And even with a roadmap, you're going to find yourself in a lot of hiccups. I mean, there's no smooth highway when it comes to creating wealth in any process. I mean, if you're buying stocks, the stock market swings. I mean, the stock market swings every day. Companies go belly up, all sorts of stuff. And with real estate, it's just as risky. And with land is probably the most riskiest real estate investment you can make. If you have the money to buy the land cash and you want to buy it and sit in it, then that's fine. I mean, you can buy land off any major highway, 2 acres of land, and you can have it as a truck parking facility. So it will pay for itself while you decide what to do with it or how you decide to sell it, right? But when you come to buying large acres of land, far from anywhere, you have to have a very long timeline or time horizon and a very clear-cut idea of what you plan to do with it. I mean, and there's a great opportunity today for farming. I mean, there's a great opportunity for poultry rearing, a lot of greenhouse farming. I mean, there's a lot of greenhouses along the QEW, when the Niagara Falls and out to Fort Erie. If you find land out there, you build a greenhouse and you can farm 12 months a year, right? I mean, farming is now a very, very scientific process, right? I mean, in many parts of the world, it's easier to get land at discounted rates through government programs if you decide that you're going to do some sort of farming, right? So, the governments are trying to push people back into the farming process. If you say, even 100 acres, I'm going to rear poultry, then you have the ability to create income for yourself and your family, have this nice large space far from the maddening crowd, build yourself a comfortable home. But you have to have a serious plan in order to do that and to accomplish it and be successful at it. So you've got to sit down with like-minded people and do that. I mean, and today it's easier. I mean, there's so many groups on social media. If you go to Facebook and look for Black farmers, I'm sure you can find a group there with Black farmers who can share their experiences with you. So today is a lot easier to get first-hand information from people who are actually doing it. If you want to find Black land developers, I'm pretty sure you can find a group on LinkedIn or Facebook that does that. And if you're not comfortable with the online social interaction, in fact, if there's actually a live club and you go and meet there with people who are in that space and try and be part of the conversation before you start looking at buying yourself acres and acres of land in the end of nowhere.
Excellent. Verna G says, indeed, we do learn from our mistakes and from the mistakes of others. Speaking of failures is important. Also, a little bit earlier on, Fitness IQ said that's true with the stock market. Agrees with what you say. The stock market is very risky business. Good stuff. Well, Ray, I think we've done a good job today. You've done a great job. I've only done a good job. You've done a great job. Any final words you'd like to share with our family today?
Planning is important. A lot of I'm a scribbler. I write stuff down. I still use a diary. I got a daytimer. The daytimer, I buy daytime refills every single year. November I get my refills, and I make a lot of notes. And I've got every single daytimer used refill package going back to 1994, I think. So I can go back to my daytimers and find notes I made almost 30 years ago, right? I got on Facebook 15 years ago, right? And I use Facebook as my personal diary, right?
Okay.
So most of what I share on Facebook is shared privately to myself or among a very small select group of people. So not my entire, I don't have many people on my personal Facebook page, but I don't share my thoughts with everybody. It's none of their business, right? So what happens is that Facebook has an anniversary where every day you can go to your memories and check what you shared in that day. And I can go back and see things I shared in 2009, 2013, thoughts I was sharing, articles I shared, like even the current housing situation here in North America with interest rates and all the conversations. And I shared them with Stefan. I said, like, everybody's panicking today. Like, this occurred in 2009 and 2008, and rates were this much, and and house prices were this and this age. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for us to diarize our thoughts, however you choose to do it, and then go back to those thoughts, whether they're written thoughts, whether they're done with a recorder, whether they're done by video somewhere. And look at those thoughts and put things in perspective. Because many times we start looking at, the whole sky is falling, the life's about to end kind of syndrome. And we need to go back and see what happened and how we navigated that situation. I mentor a young man here in Ghana. We started mentoring him when he was 16 years old. He was, myself and a few people, we help kids in Guyana who are extremely academically gifted, but come from very, very poor families. And this was not something I wanted to talk about publicly because I don't want anybody to applaud me for this. This is what I was taught to do by my grandparents. And I never wanted to meet the young man. So he's now in his 20s. So we knew since he was, I think, 15 or 16 years old. So I met him for the first time 2 days ago. And he was totally shocked to meet me, and I explained to him why I didn't want to meet him, because I didn't want my presence become a distraction from his future. Because many times when you know who your benefactor is in life, the benefactor become a psychological distraction to your goals. So I was sharing with him, you saw with all the challenges he was facing, trying to graduate law school. And I was telling him all our problems. There is no problem in life that has defeated us once we have life. Every problem we had when the war is about to end is always behind us. And he sat there and he looked at me. So what do you mean? I says, well, every crisis you've had is not a crisis today. It may have been a crisis 6 months ago, 2 years ago. But the fact that it's no longer a crisis today means you're undefeated. So the key is to stay focused, singular vision, shut the noise and distractions out, and keep going ahead. And along the way, you got to do what I call load shedding. I purge my life very frequently. I get rid of stuff, and I get rid of people. So I look at the value proposition between myself and whom I'm interacting. And this includes family, friends, everybody. Nobody's exempt from my purging. And I purge my life because your noise is a distraction to my journey. And I don't need you sitting on my right shoulder with your crap in my ears all the time. If our conversation doesn't allow me to learn, earn, or grow, we don't need to have a conversation. I'm not a comedian. I don't exchange jokes with people. If I want to watch comedian, I watch the Dave Chappelle show. I want to watch him fun. That's what he's paid to do. He made money. If I want to have a laugh, I watch Kevin Hart and Chappelle. I'm not a comedian. You're not a comedian. Don't share your jokes with me. It's a waste of my time. Learn, earn, and grow. That's my entire focus. Now, it may seem very stoic and steadfast, and for some people, it may sound cold. I know I may appear unapproachable to many people, but you do know that I am very approachable. And I will spend hours talking to anybody who wants to invest the time.
Absolutely.
I spent 3 hours with that young man a few days ago. I was, 3 hours at the back. I mean, he's younger than my youngest child. And I spent 3 hours with him. That's the first time I met him. But he was engaged. I was engaged. We had a great conversation. So, coming back to what that person said about me trying to educate the community, that's not my role. I'm not a community advocate. I have no interest in that stuff. But if you are a member of any community and you think that what I say can benefit your life and you want to spend 15 minutes with me, that's fine. I don't drink coffee, so don't offer me coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, so don't want to me.
I'm gonna add one.
And my time is worth of coffee. Like, that's an insult in my opinion.
Okay. I guess I was gonna. I'm gonna.
You have to stop trading our time for coffee. Sorry,
Right.
Go ahead, Dr. Vibe.
No, it's all right. You're dropping some serious knowledge bomb and some good. This is like masterclass material, so this is really good. The only other thing that I don't, it always pushes me back when someone says, "I want to pick your brain." I don't like that phrase.
Yeah.
Because when you know what I'll tell them? I'll tell them I don't want to pick my brain because you may get infected.
And we have to change the way we speak to people in our community, right? Like there's a quote I've heard: "I will listen for free, but you have to pay when you want to hear me speak." So I can't give you my 60 years in this earth, my academic training, all the courses I've done, all my life experiences for a cup of 90-cent coffee. Come on. No, I don't want you to pay me for my time. But what I want you to do is when you leave my office or leave my space, that you make your life better and pay. That's what's important to me. Under the check, I don't want to spend 2 hours talking to anybody, and then I see you 5 years down the road, and you're in a worse position than you were when I met you 5 years ago. Like, why do you have a conversation?
Right. There you go. So some final comments. Fitness IQ goes, yes, Raymond. Also likes learn, earn, and grow. She also says, so no coffee, noted. Also says, thank you for those wise words, Mr. McMillan. Opal inspired. Fitness IQ says, same here. That saying is mad annoying. And Verna G says, did you just create a verb from diary, or is it just a word I didn't know?
Which word is that? Diarize? Is that what I said?
I think so. I think so.
Diarize?
I think so.
I answered it's a real word, but that's a banking word. Maybe you should depend before banking was digital. You should diarize clients' events. If I had a GIC maturing in a certain period of time in the future, we'd diarize that maturity or their mortgage maturity, or diarize the next phone call. So that's a word I learned in my banking days. Yeah. I learned a lot in the banking environment, actually. I learned about how wealth is created and how people who have money handle money.
Excellent.
It was a great experience working within one of the largest banks in Canada as a financial advisor. So
Divine Right says, this was incredible as always. Thank you. I have to head off. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. Right back to you, Divine Right. As always, when we close down, this is Ray's contact information. Probably right now, the best way to touch base with him is via email. Is probably the best way, since he is not in North America, so email is the best. And I'm going to challenge someone here. Is someone going to reach out and ask for 15 minutes of Ray's time? And I'll be waiting to hear from him if anyone does that. I know, Divine Right, you've done it. I don't know if Dr. Tachi has ever done it. She says she's going to, but I never heard from her. But anyone else here, I would suggest you do that. It ain't going to be a waste. It's an investment, not an expense. So Ray, as always, thank you so much. Miss you. And hopefully one day we'll have you back, like physically, but continued all the best to you and your family. Remember, to you and your family, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourselves grace and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thanks to the audience, and thanks to you again for the platform. I certainly enjoyed.
Happy 1-year anniversary.
Value. Thank you.
All right. Take care. All right, everybody. 1-year anniversary. I didn't even realize that. That is phenomenal. 1 year of getting great knowledge. So I'm putting it out there, family. Who's going to go out there and book 15 minutes of Ray's time? I'm going to have him keep a watch and see who does that. So some final things here. As you see along the bottom, you can watch replays of the Morning Vibe on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network on Facebook and YouTube, and Ryan O'Neill Knight on YouTube and LinkedIn. Some few other things here. You can also, if you want to touch base with me, website, the drvibeshow.com. Also email address, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, The Dr. Vibe Show. Twitter/X. You see, I put that in now, finally, at drvibeshow. And then Instagram at the drvibeshow. Some other things, as always, we want to say, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Thank you, Chad, for doing that. Thank you. Others, if you haven't, encourage you. And also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. As always, you can advertise your business or service on the Dr. Vibe Show platforms. Email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, and also join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me. Continue the conversation in between. So coming up over the next few days on the Dr. Vibe platform, tomorrow night, State of Things with Aisha, Jill, and Lala, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday afternoon, 5 p.m., Black Canada Talking. And then Monday, we have a guest. My head is forgetting, but we do have a special guest coming on Monday. So follow us. I'll be putting the posts up over the weekend for our next, and it's a new friend coming on Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So also, too, you can watch a replay. So let's end it off here. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And also reach out to Carolyn, Energy Juice Shack.